everybody, it's Mia with TMBH. Today is March 15th. It's Getting Through It Thursday, and we are going to talk about rehab, because that can be a hard thing to get through. People don't necessarily know how to approach it. It can be a little bit difficult because you don't want the person to get mad at you, or maybe you're just uncomfortable. Even if you don't think the person's going to get mad, it might just be uncomfortable to talk about. So how do you get through that? I have my notes on the computer today, guys. So the first thing that I would say is getting to know why, that you should do before you start, the conversation. You have to get ready for it before you have the conversation. And I would say the first thing you should probably do is just try to understand why the person's addiction exists in the first place. So kind of playing therapist a little bit there and trying to figure out why is this person addicted? Not just because they like to use drugs. That's not, try to understand where it stems from. If it stems from, for example, for some people, it might genuinely stem from I had an injury and I went to the doctor and they gave me opioids and then I started to abuse them. But even then, there's a reason as to why was it able to, why did you become addicted to it? What's that reason behind it? Because if you can understand why somebody did something, I think on an emotional level a lot of times, and you're able to resonate with them emotionally, you put them in a position where they're more susceptible to being open about to going to something like rehab. But I think that only works too, people tend to not be able to get to that vulnerable place if you yourself aren't at least somewhat offering some form of vulnerability. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about a personal situation, or not even a personal situation, if you haven't gone through addiction yourself, but even explaining to that person why it matters to you that they get treatment for their problem, why you feel affected by it. And when I say why you feel affected by it, don't be, you're making me mad and you're hurting me. That makes somebody defensive. Be look, I really care about you. You're my best friend. You're my child. And this hurts me because I know you have value in your life and I want to see you see that, So things like that, just trying to be more, trying to figure out why they're doing what they're doing, trying to be emotionally, having an emotionally deep conversation, because really the reasons, when it comes to it, addiction is a deep-rooted issue, and you're not going to be able to solve it if you just want to deal with surface-level things. If you want to just, that's being to deal with addiction, we're just going to do it through sheer willpower, and, that's that. That's very surface level. The problem isn't just the drug, I want to use drugs. So you have to be able to attack that from, a deeper perspective. And so that's why you need to be as prepared as possible for this. You have to understand, and then also try to understand beforehand too, what is the person's perspective, because that might change the conversation for you. If you're dealing with somebody who's you know what, honestly, I kind of want help, they're too scatterbrained to or not scatterbrained, that doesn't come out, they're just too busy or too not focused or just too depressed to go and do stuff by themselves. So your conversation with them is probably more going to be a little bit of that support and being I think you should go, but more so being I'm going to help you in this process. Let's look up places together. Let's scout out some stuff. What do you want from a center? And I'm going to help you. Versus somebody who's I don't want to go at all. And so then in that case, you really do, that's where you really want to play up that emotional connection, and really trying to be very vulnerable with that person and getting them to just even get to the point where they realize they have a problem, and they're no longer in denial. Because depending on where that person's at, your conversation is going to shift what you want. You have to really understand what you want from that conversation. After research, well, yeah, and so that's something that I kind of brought up. Do your research on possible facilities. I mean, you're not always going to, if it's a friend, you might not know information about their insurance and stuff like that, so that might be different. But if you can, and it's a family member or it's somebody that you're really close to and you happen to know the stuff about, try to look up treatment centers that will take their kind of health insurance. If you know the person, for example, if you know what they're looking for in a treatment center, you find a treatment center that matches what they're looking for, and you or their specific needs. If it's somebody that for example, who has a very deep-rooted issue, a very deep-rooted addiction problem, and the withdrawal is going to be really uncomfortable for them, make sure you're looking for a place that has a detox that facility that's has medical staff on hand 24 hours a day, you know, because that's going to be important for them. If it's going to be uncomfortable, you want to make sure that you're really looking for somebody that's going to treat that with the attention that it needs to be treated with. And then I think, honestly, the only other thing to prepare yourself for, like, obviously there's a lot of things, so, well, I have, like, a little, like, I have my content that tells you guys about this more in depth, but the other thing I would say, like, the last thing is, you just have to prepare yourself to, like, ultimately, it's not your choice of that person, what they do or what they don't do, so, like, if that person chooses not to go, don't take it too hard on yourself. I mean, you can only do the best that you can do, but it doesn't always work out the way that you want it to work out, and that's okay. You just don't blame yourself. That's a really important thing. And yeah, that is all we are going to talk about for talking about rehab. But check out our other video that goes along with this video, our morning video. And then tomorrow, come back here and see us on Facebook and Twitter and our social media because, yeah, you want to see us again. Have a great day.